Hi, this is Florence, or Ratty the Muffin. As you may know, this isn't my usual content, but today's video is about addressing everything that happened in 2023. Plus, I get to know me after all these years. Please keep in mind that I will not be mentioning everything that happened for either the sake of my dignity or because it's a confusing story. So, let's get into the video. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. The first topic I'm gonna be mentioning is the staff situation. I'd like to start it off as it was never that serious. Yes, I did post her face and say it was me, but at the time my groomer was threatening to post pictures of me from 2021. Obviously at the time I didn't want even more problems and just did whatever I could think of. However, I did contact the original girl behind the photo, and she was extremely understanding and chill. She told me to just be careful next time and everything is fine as long as I privated any video or post that had her in it. I said it was never that serious because Yao had me shitting my pants by telling me her lawyer was getting involved, even though at the time she didn't even have a lawyer. I know using her photo was wrong of me, no excuses, but the drama was way blown out of proportion for a situation that could be solved privately. I understand why everybody was pissed at me at the time, but I think me avoiding anybody who confronted me about it was a very ignorant thing to do. So that's that. Second, I'd like to mention the big fight between me and my old friend group. Please keep in mind that we currently sorted it out and we don't have as much beef as we did before. Some of it was reasonable and totally valid. Some of it just needed to talk it out. I remember feeling my stomach drop every time one of them posted something because I thought it was about me. I will not get into further detail because most of the parts where I was being problematic was either personal situations or a misunderstanding. Special shout out to that group. I hope they're all doing very well. Because at the end, we were all teenagers trying to avoid problems at some point. Even if some lied about their age, even if some were actually 18, you can never really blame it on one person without actually understanding the pressure all of us were in. So, to Xavier, Leah, or Zay, watching this video, I'm chill gal now. Third, the mic situation. I'm sure anybody who was friends with me or knew about me between late 2020 and mid 2023 knew who Mike was, or at least knew what he did. I'm not sure if I can say all the stuff that happened unless I want to be demonetized by YouTube. However, I'm not sure if I can forgive and forget when it comes to him. I hope he's doing well, sure. But after everything, it may take me a good few more years before I can fully decide whether I forgive him or not. But to say the least, we were both in the wrong. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say that I had every right to expose him and humiliate him in front of millions of people. But honestly, I think we can all agree that you can't really expect a teenager to act like an adult, especially when you're constantly in their business. Cause seriously, I think I woke up every day with him in my comment section from a different account. The next topic I'm gonna be talking about is the suggestive content. Yes, cancel me all you want, but I genuinely think I did no wrong here. Cause back then I had written everywhere in my channel description that my content could get bloody or suggestive sometimes. I always put warnings in the titles as well, and my videos are set as not for kids. If you read all that and still choose to completely rip me apart for something I chose to do, I am afraid you're gonna be in the wrong. And on the topic of warnings, this one might be a little triggering for some viewers, so I advise to skip this part. I'd like to deeply apologize for any person that I've caused harm to in the past. In early 2023, I was professionally diagnosed with BPD, borderline personality disorder, along with depression. Although I'm pretty sure I was more manic than depressed. Because back then, Ellis or Kenneth used to convince me that it's okay to lash out and split on others if they push too far. But you guys already know he's an adult. I guess only in early 2025, I think, did I realize our relationship ran a bit deeper than it was supposed to be. I don't really want to call him a bad person, but his actions were very wrong, and I didn't really realize it fully. I feel like he was also a part of some fights, since he did kind of enable my bad behavior. But back to the point, I never really intended to actually hurt anybody, and if I did, I really, truly apologize and hope they're doing way better right now. Looking back at 2023, I realized I was just some dumb kid trying to survive a storm of mental illness, diagnosis, with people who were just trying to survive the same thing. But that was then. Surviving all of that made me realize how resilient I actually am. The most valuable lesson I will never forget from this drama is that we can't control others to our liking. If you tell them to stop doing something and they don't, it's best if you just avoid them rather than create bigger problems just to make yourself look tougher. However, I spent the years offline healing and understanding my PBD and finding out how I really am outside all of the internet drama. Because the difference between 2023 me and 2026 me is a very noticeable contrast. So, now that we've finally cleared the air and closed that dark chapter for good, let's switch up the vibe. Who is Florence or Ratty the Muffin today? Well, you might know me as the infamous internet girl that's name was popping up in every single conversation. But that internet girl doesn't exist anymore. I used to seek validation in the most loudest and chaotic corners of the web. But today, I realize that I find peace in my own quiet world. I think the biggest contrast between then and now is how I handle my mind. Back then, my emotions were a weapon used against me or others. Today, I've learned to channel all that intense energy into a creation rather than a destruction. I spent the last few years completely reinventing myself, diving deep into art, focusing on creative writing, and building complex stories and characters that actually reflect my psychological growth, instead of just let the drama define me. Even physically, I stopped trying to force myself into templates that didn't fit me, just to feel cool and look like others. But to be honest, the biggest flaw about someone is when they try to be someone else. Because nothing is more perfect than you embracing your own self. I started a whole self-care journey, embracing my natural self from head to toe, because taking care of my body and my traits became my way of apologizing to myself for everything I put myself through in 2023. I'm no longer interested in being the topic of copying anyone else's style or way of living. I'm no longer interested in trying to be with anyone who's nice to me. And I'm 100% no longer interested in criticizing others without acknowledging my own actions as well. I'm just a person who loves making things with her own hands, crafting my own aesthetic and living a life that feels authentic to me. Completely offline. Because yet again, as much fun as it seems, the internet is draining and doesn't need to be constantly updated on your personal life. I'd also like to give a special thank you to the ones that stood by my side through everything, the ones that encouraged me to keep going, and the ones that are one of the main reasons I'm the better version of myself. Dear Mira, Felix, Eve, and Daria, those people are more precious and dear to me than anything, and if it wasn't for them, I don't think I'd have enough courage to even make this video. So, that's all for today. Bye bye.